Welcome back. We are back with part two of episode two of the F1 documentary of F1's most horrific crashes. Obviously, you guys really enjoyed part one. It was tough to watch at times, but it's the dark side of F1. I think something that we need to learn stuff like that just to see how far F1 has came overcoming these sad, unfortunate events. Um, as always, hope you guys are good and amazing. Shout out to Motorsport Madness again. Hopefully, you guys, are doing good. Obviously, like so in the off season. Um, that's that's it. That's the intro. I know it was kind of weird because I was like, yeah, I know we were in the off season and just cut it there. But anyway, that's it. I'm not gonna keep you guys waiting. As always, don't forget to like the video and sub as well to the channel if you do enjoy, if you do like it. I do read you guys comments. I do know, so you guys would really appreciate doing this. Shout out to y'all, man. I say it. I don't know if I say it as much as I should, but honestly appreciate all you guys, watching the videos, leaving a like, subscribing, stuff like that. It means a lot, for you guys as well. And my thing, I just try to make you guys happy the best I can, make you guys entertained. So really, really do appreciate you guys as always. And let's get going. Let's continue off where we were. Obviously, we kind of talk about Ratzenberger and Senna. So let's just continue on.
Was held on May 7th, and when inspectors examined Senna's wrecked Williams, they found a folded Austrian flag. Senna planned to display the flag upon completing the race in tribute to Ratzenberger. He never got the chance.
That's what I think I mentioned that last episode. I felt like he was going to I felt like it was destined for him to win that race, and he was going to honor Ratzenberger. That was the plan. I knew. Damn, man.
Imola would also never be the same again, as the circuit saw an extensive redesign from 1994 onwards, which saw the installation of a chicane at Tamburello, another chicane at the Villeneuve curve before you have the Tosa hairpin, and a complete redesign of the Aqua Minerale sequence. The accidents would also lead to a huge improvement in the safety aspects of Formula 1 cars, which saw a dramatic change in the overall look of car designs from then on. Sidewalls were heightened to protect the drivers' heads, cockpit safety cells were also reinforced, barge boards were made larger, and the front ends were extended to protect drivers' legs. For the next 20 years, F1 would not witness another tragic event, and it was widely believed that F1 was so safe that it would never see a driver killed ever again. Then came the 5th of October, 2014.
Jules, yeah. Oh God, Jules. Destined for greatness, man. Him and Leclerc.
The Japanese Grand Prix
together
is often hailed as one of the best races of the season, which has taken place at two of the finest racing circuits on the planet. The Fuji Speedway, located at the foot of the famous mountain, and the Suzuka Circuit, which has some of the best corners in all of motorsport. From its first inclusion on the F1 calendar as the final race of the dramatic 1976 season, the Japanese Grand Prix has seen some equally dramatic races in the years to follow, such as the two Prost and Senna incidents in 1989 and 1990, Kimi Raikkonen's sensational win in 2005, and the rain-soaked 2007 Grand Prix at Fuji. Suzuka in particular is no stranger to severe accidents, and in 2002, Alan McNish, who was driving for Toyota at the time, crashed heavily at the notorious 130R, which is normally taken flat out at nearly 200 miles per hour. Alan was extremely lucky to escape uninjured. However, the following year, MotoGP rider Daijiro Kato was killed in a heavy crash after Kato had gone wide going through 130R. He touched the grass on the outside, leaving the bike completely unstable before crashing into the barriers at the entrance to the Casio Triangle chicane. The Japanese Grand Prix is also known for its extremely unpredictable weather conditions, and this was to be the case in 2014 as the race got underway behind the safety car due to how wet the track surface was. It was the first season of the turbo hybrid era of F1, and fans enjoyed a fierce battle for the title between the two Mercedes drivers of Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, which had already seen some dramatic incidents throughout the season in a saga whereby friends became enemies. Another driver who is enjoying a successful season was a 25-year-old Frenchman, Jules Bianchi. Born in 1989, Jules enjoyed a successful junior career which began with karting when he was around 3 years old. His talent behind the wheel was evident from the start, and Ferrari were quick to take Jules under their wing. When Luca Badoer was struggling in the second Ferrari seat after Felipe Massa's accident in Hungary in 2009, Jules was one of the drivers linked to replace him. The seat eventually went to Giancarlo Fisichella, but Bianchi's involvement with the Scuderia was only just beginning, and he was signed up to become the first driver in the new Ferrari Driver Academy in December of 2009. Clearly, Ferrari had an extremely talented driver in their wings, and it would only be a matter of time before he would eventually be seen in a Formula 1 race seat. This would finally become a reality in 2013 when he joined the relatively new Marussia team for that season. Whilst the Marussia MR02 was one of the slowest cars on the grid, he proved himself to be very capable of handling a Formula 1 car.
You know, something I've noticed regarding like new drivers in F1, and correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But like I felt like new drivers who enter F1, they always get like the slowest car. Like outside of like Oscar Piastri, Jordan McLaren, but like Bianchi, you know, joined Marussia, slowest car. George Russell was with Williams, slowest car. Trying to think of somebody else. Nick DeVries, when he joined F1, he was with AlphaTauri and one of the slowest cars out there. So it seems like some of these drivers, you know, come into a sport, they have to go through like a shitty team. No offense at first, but not all drivers, but like that's just some drivers.
And outqualified his teammate Max Chilton on numerous occasions. He ended the season as one of the best rookies on the grid, only beaten by Valtteri Bottas, who scored 4 points with Williams that year. After a decent first year in F1, he signed for Marussia once again for 2014. At the Monaco Grand Prix that year, Bianchi scored not only his but Marussia's first ever points in F1 by finishing in 9th, and it was clear at this point that Bianchi's skills were only just getting better. Days before the Japanese Grand Prix, he declared that he was ready to take the Ferrari seat if he was required to by the Scuderia, as it was likely that Fernando Alonso would leave the team at the end of 2014.
Yeah, my boy's getting ready to take over.
On lap 40 of the race, a series of unfortunate events would begin to take place at Suzuka. After a period of relatively dry weather, the rain once again began to pour in Japan, and the Sauber of Adrian Sutil was caught out in the wet conditions and spun off at the Dunlop curve. His race was done, and a recovery vehicle went out to take the stricken Sauber away. A couple of laps after this incident, the safety car was deployed, but this didn't seem unusual due to the awful conditions. However, speeding in front of the safety car was the medical car on its way to the Dunlop curve. The appearance of this car gave the impression that this seemingly small accident was actually more serious than it first appeared.
And the medical car as well. And I wonder, we've not seen Adrian Sutil too much after that accident.
He got out of the car, didn't he?
Yeah. There's the medical car just going off to make sure he's okay and give him the once over. The medical car indeed parked up by Adrian Sutil's Sauber.
I hope there's not with marshals or something up there with the truck going backwards.
Yeah, you wonder what's happened.
Yeah, something's not good up there.
But if we're thinking that this is an incident post Sutil going off with a marshal, perhaps, I don't know, David, is that what I think that's the information we're getting at the moment, early as it is. Then that doesn't actually affect the removal of a car. Sorry, David, yeah, go on.
I'm just going to say, I can see the doctor, and I can see some marshals and a stretcher being used. For whom? I'm not sure, and I haven't... I don't think it's Adrian Sutil. I can see Adrian Sutil by the steps just to the left as we look at that lamppost. So I assume it's for a marshal down at that incident.
After a few more laps of confusion as to what was going on, the Sky commentary team of David Croft and Martin Brundle spotted a small detail amongst the confusion which revealed the worst possible outcome.
Because there's a Marussia there.
Yeah,
Jules Bianchi is out of this race, and I've just seen a piece of Marussia bodywork and confirmation there that it is Bianchi in that incident. Now, had Bianchi just gone off when Adrian Sutil then went off as well? Or did he hit the car afterwards?
As he hit the truck.
I just wonder, but certainly Jules Bianchi involved in that incident at the Dunlop curve.
One lap after Sutil spun off at Dunlop, Jules Bianchi spun off at the exact same location at 132 miles per hour and headed directly into the path of the recovery vehicle. Whilst live TV viewers didn't see the incident take place itself, spectators at the circuit were unfortunate to witness the crash firsthand. In the aftermath of the race, footage of the accident taken by fans spread around social media.
I'm not trying to see that.
Which revealed the sheer horror of what occurred.
I ain't trying to see that. Oh shit, dude. Oh god. Holy god. Holy crap. Oh my god.
Jules Bianchi collided with the recovery truck at very high speed. The underside of the heavy recovery vehicle was dead in line with Bianchi's roll hoop, and the two collided at 76 miles per hour with an impact force of 254 G.
Oh my
Whilst
god.
the truck did not make contact with Jules' head, the sudden and violent deceleration was simply too much for his body to handle. Jules Bianchi was instantly knocked unconscious upon hitting the vehicle, and Marush's attempts to communicate via radio came back silent.
Okay, sorry I'm out of breath.
No, that's okay, Ted.
There wasn't
It's
any,
a very steep hill.
It is. There wasn't any. They asked him, Jules, are you okay? Obviously, we haven't heard that team radio message, but they didn't hear back. Doesn't mean anything. Just telling you that information.
Okay, thanks, Ted, for that one.
The race was red flagged on lap 46 and was not restarted, with Lewis Hamilton being declared winner. The accident, however, overshadowed what should have been a joyous occasion, and a quiet podium celebration was held out of respect to the injured Jules.
So that's the first time I seen that like clip, and I don't. Oh my god. I don't really know. I don't know what to say about that.
Bianchi was taken to a nearby hospital in critical condition. He was later diagnosed with diffuse axonal injury, which is one of the most severe types of brain injury, and he was placed into a coma shortly afterwards. His condition remained critical but stable as he was taken out of his coma in November and began to breathe unaided once again. This brought hope that Jules would eventually make it through. Sadly, this was not to be, and Jules never regained consciousness. On Friday, the 17th of July 2015, Jules' family released a heartbreaking statement.
I couldn't even describe it, man. I couldn't even just.
One of the best young talents the sport had seen in a very long time was cruelly taken away and sent the wider motorsport world into deep shock and mourning, which is still felt today and remains in many fans' memories and hearts. For the first time in 20 years, a driver had been killed during a Formula 1 race. The biggest question was why the safety car wasn't deployed earlier when Sutil's car was being recovered. After all, in 1994, Martin Brundle crashed near the same spot in his McLaren and hit a trackside marshal who was helping to recover another stricken car, breaking his leg. Even before the race had started, the late Charlie Whiting, then F1's permanent race director, suggested to organisers that the start time be moved to an earlier time to avoid the heavy rainfall expected from the approaching Typhoon Fanfon, a Category 4 storm. His pleas were rejected by organisers, and Honda, the owners of Suzuka, also rejected the plea.
So you're telling me that the dude from F1 tried to move it earlier because his main thing was for safety reasons and because of like the typhoon, whatever, and the organizing stuff didn't want to do that. But why didn't they want to do that? Now I get it. It's your, you Honda, whatever, you own it, it's your track, whatever. But obviously, if the president, I forgot, the manager of F1, whatever, is pleading with you guys to a degree, like, hey, let's try to get this race done earlier. Listen, we're still going to race, still may rain, but, if we can move it earlier, in which we can avoid the greater impact of this typhoon or this weather that's coming, I think it would be more beneficial. And you disregard that. That's crazy to me. That's honestly crazy to me. That's crazy to me. That's why
Senior FIA officials also rejected his plan because they didn't want worldwide television coverage to be disrupted.
Never mind.
This was an accident that simply shouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
and in 2022,
exactly.
we almost saw history repeat itself when during heavy rainfall, Pierre Gasly narrowly missed another unsighted recovery truck attending to Carlos Sainz.
And you see why people were mad after this Pierre Gasly incident, in which I talked about, like, when it happened. Like, it's a reason why people, they can see things before it happens and are telling people, like, hey, let's not go with this because we know we don't want something worse to happen. And you just saw what happened to Jules. And then 2 years from now, and then next, here we are in 2024. In 2022, we almost had this 2 years ago. A similar incident. And there's a reason why people were outraged after, Japan in 2022, because did we not learn our lesson? Like, did y'all not learn you guys' lesson after what happened to Jules? Like,
promoting a huge amount of criticism from both drivers and fans alike.
Exactly, my point.
What is this tractor on track? I pass next to it, like, this is unacceptable. Remember what's happened. Can't believe this.
It's a joke.
For 2015 onwards, the virtual safety car was introduced. Inspired by the full course yellow used in the World Endurance Championships, when deployed, all cars on track are made to drive at a reduced pace, no matter their position on the circuit, until it is safe enough to resume race speeds. And F1 finally introduced a cockpit protection device in 2018, known as the Halo. Discussions regarding this device were well underway already after the events of Felipe Massa and Henry Surtees in 2009, but Bianchi's death left the FIA no choice but to do something regarding this issue.
That's the president of F1. I meant the president of the FIA, whoever bro he was, man. Like,
unpopular with fans and drivers alike, the Halo has since proven itself to be capable of protecting drivers' heads, including Romain Grosjean in 2020, Lewis Hamilton in 2021, and Roy Nissane during the Silverstone feature race in Formula 2 in 2022.
Holy crap.
Another driver who managed to escape injury thanks to the Halo is Charles Leclerc, Jules Bianchi's godson. Jules had helped him rise up the junior ranks throughout his early life, which ended up cementing his future F1 career, which continues to this day with Ferrari, and, despite some bad luck in recent months, remains one of the best drivers on the grid.
Yes, sir.
And in the 8 years since his passing, Charles has stated on many occasions that if it wasn't him, Jules would be in that Ferrari seat.
Nah, facts. He should be, though. Jules should be in that Ferrari seat anyway. Should be him and Leclerc. Now, Sainz still my guy, but it was meant to be Leclerc and Jules, man.
Ronnie Peterson was a rising star in Formula 1, having entered the sport in 1970 in a privately owned March before moving to the March team itself for 1971, where he would finish the season in second after scoring 5 podiums, including 4 second-place finishes. These impressive performances earned the Super Swede a move to one of the best Formula 1 teams at the time, Team Lotus. For 1973, Peterson would be partnered with defending champion Emerson Fittipaldi, but the season would be reasonably disappointing as the Lotus 72 was beginning to show its age, despite Ronnie winning his first Grand Prix in France, and would go on to win 3 more races that year. It was clear at this point F1 had a future champion in the making. However, things would quickly start to fall apart for Peterson and Lotus, as the team struggled to develop a suitable replacement for its previously successful 72 design, and culminated in a 13th place finish in 1975 with only 6 points to show for.
That's not good.
Despite Colin Chapman's efforts, Peterson would leave Lotus and return to March after the first race of 1976, but once again struggled with the March car, although he did manage an impressive victory at the Italian Grand Prix that year. He would again struggle in 1977, this time with the successful Tyrrell outfit, but would only have 7 points come the end of the season. Surprisingly, the following year he would rejoin Lotus as they had finally designed a competitive car, the Lotus 78, and later the Lotus 79 with its revolutionary aero design and its ground effect capabilities. Peterson would once again partner up with his friend Mario Andretti, and the pair went on to share a friendly rivalry, with both drivers occupying first and second in the championship after 13 rounds. Peterson was undoubtedly the fastest driver on the grid, and if it wasn't going to be 1978, another year would see Peterson become Formula 1 World Champion amidst growing rumours that he was to move to McLaren from 1979 onwards.
McLaren!
With 3 races to go and only 12 points behind Andretti, the grid would arrive at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. Peterson had a tough weekend, but eventually would qualify 5th on the grid despite using a spare Lotus 78 after his 79 was severely damaged during practice. The cars began to line up on the grid to begin.
Wait, so he crashed his Lotus 79, then switched to Lotus 78. So he kind of took a bit of, like, I guess, a downgrade, because he went from the 79 to 78, I am assuming.
In the race. Peterson was eager to make up for poor qualifying and hopefully close the gap on Andretti as he chased his first Formula 1 World Championship. This dream would end just moments later.
Complete stop again, right, Jackie?
Yes, there's a light system nowadays. It's not a flag, and when the cars absolutely come to a stop, and one car's going straight into the pits, Patrick Tammy's going into the pits, but the cars must come to a stop, then a red light goes on, they're under starter's orders, and then only then will a green light show. That's the second row you're looking at right now.
All right, here's the first row with Mario Andretti in the black car on the pole, number 5. Next to him is Villeneuve in car number 12. Villeneuve gets it on the start. The green light on. They are racing at Monza. Villeneuve is the Ferrari, has the lead. Andretti is second. Peterson is dropping back in the field as they head for that puck. There's an accident!
There's a big crash there. It looked like a car in the center of the field. It could have been a black car. It could have been Ronnie Peterson.
It's a bad one.
It's a big accident. These cars are full of fuel. The beginning of this.
Did y'all just hear that? That sounded like a freaking bomb just detonated. Holy shit. Bro, crap. I need to stop cursing, but holy crap.
There's a driver. It looks like James Hunt running to the car that's burning there. He's running to that fire.
The word, Jackie, is it's Peterson. Peterson in the burning car. A number of other cars involved in it. We'll pick them up as we can, but that is bad. It's very bad. He's still in that car, and you can see, oh, this is terrible.
They're fighting the fire. They've got very quickly onto it. There's James Hunt. There's another driver. Patrick Depailler is in there.
They're getting him out of the car.
He's out the car now. Thank goodness for that. They're getting the fire under control.
Holy crap.
Yes, the car is Ronnie Peterson's car. The drivers themselves getting Ronnie out of the car. There's a lot of other cars involved here.
The lights went green and the 24 cars raced towards the first chicane. Suddenly, a huge explosion erupted on the circuit and flames enveloped several stationary cars. People were running around trying to extinguish the flames, whilst also trying to rescue drivers from the fires. Ronnie Peterson was dragged from his wrecked Lotus and had severe leg injuries, but was otherwise conscious and was able to talk to his rescuers. Vittorio Brambilla was also severely injured as debris had struck his head during the pile-up and was considered to be in worse condition than Peterson. In the chaos, the newly appointed FIA doctor, Professor Sid Watkins, was prevented from attending the scene by Italian police, leaving the drivers and other marshals to sort the situation out themselves.
Yo, this is, oh my god, bro. So obviously, go back to episode 1, we've heard about part 1, we heard about Sid Watkins, Dr. Sid Watkins, just what he was doing, saving these drivers, stuff like that. here we are at the Italian Grand Prix. Multiple cars have crashed, and my guy's being prevented. Like, he's the head doctor. Like he got, like, isn't he responsible for, like, you know, caring and making sure these guys are okay in terms of, like, any health stuff going on? That's, again, it's kind of crazy to me, but it's kind of
Until
crazy.
Watkins and his medical teams were finally allowed to tend to the drivers 20 minutes after the accident had taken place. Eventually, Peterson was flown to a nearby hospital where he was to have surgery to stabilize his bones after an x-ray had revealed 27 fractures in his legs.
Oh my god.
But he was expected to make a full recovery.
Oh my
Sadly,
god.
however, his condition suddenly and rapidly worsened as he was diagnosed with fat embolism, which led to a full kidney failure by morning. He would not recover, and at 9:55 in the morning after the race, Ronnie Peterson had passed away.
35 years old.
Formula One had just lost one of its most talented drivers long before his best was yet to shine through. Whilst the young Riccardo Patrese was initially blamed for the accident, later investigations showed that this was another case of a completely avoidable accident. All F1 races begin with a standing start, and this was meant to be the case for this race. As the cars lined up, the race director, Gianni Restilli, gave the green light far too early as cars at the back of the grid were still rolling into their grid positions.
Do you not see that? Like, dude, my god, bro. Like, you didn't get like a, you know, like a little alert, you know, like a little notification. I ain't saying like phone stuff like that, but like you didn't get like a little like call, maybe like a little like don't you know, like a little heads up or something. Like, cars are still. I don't know, bro. I'm very, very being boozled by all of this.
Meaning the cars at the back of the
this
grid
is crazy.
were faster than those at the front,
This is
creating a huge
crazy.
concertina effect as they headed into the first chicane.
Just crazy.
As all the cars were bunched up with little room to move, an accident was bound to happen, and it did when Patrese made a move on James Hunt, who had to veer slightly left to avoid Patrese, but made contact with Peterson in doing so, which sent the Lotus spinning out of control. The Lotus then hit the barriers hard, severely damaging the car, which ruptured the fuel tank and thus causing the huge fireball. Riccardo Patrese received some pretty harsh treatment from fellow drivers after he was blamed for causing the accident, with drivers even threatening to boycott if he continued racing.
Jeez.
He was eventually cleared of any wrongdoing by an Italian court in 1981, but Hunt continued to believe he was to blame, right up until his passing in 1993. Since Peterson's passing, races must always start after all the cars are completely stationary on the grid, with the signal to begin the start procedure shown by a green flag at the back of the grid. To ensure injured drivers can be attended to as soon as possible, a medical car would follow the grid on the opening lap from the US Grand Prix onwards, which would pull into the pit lane after the first lap providing there was no incident on track. As for Ronnie, who knows what he could have achieved. But once again, Formula One's mistakes were costing lives, which is something that comes up time after time the further back you go.
F1 just when they had a hard time just learning from their mistakes. Like, they just never really learn from their mistakes at times. Like, they did it now because, you know, the changes now have been, you know, good, but it seemed like back then, like, I don't know, just stubbornness or what. But there's just so many
Without a
just
shadow of a
avoidable
doubt,
deaths.
F1's most
that could have
violent
happened.
period was between the early 1960s and mid-1970s, during a time where the cars became faster and faster as each year went by, but the circuits weren't being upgraded to cope with the increased speeds. Drivers of this time accepted the fact that they may very likely be killed at any moment during the race
Golly,
weekend.
and they're still
It
racing
seems
though.
absurd to think like that now, but back then it was very real, and for the remainder of this video, we shall focus on this most brutal era.
They just at times just accept it, like they may not And it may not come out of this. Jeez, man. I tell
Monaco
you.
is one of the world's most famous racing circuits. Since the 1920s, the world's greatest drivers passed through the narrow streets of Monte Carlo in front of the wealthiest people in the world. It's jeweled in the crown that is Formula One. However, Monaco is also one of the most dangerous circuits due to its narrow circuit design. One of the smallest mistakes could lead to catastrophe, and Monaco has seen its fair share. But the most horrific came on May 7th, 1967. This season was the second year of the 3-litre engine regulations, which saw a huge increase in car speeds the previous year, which already saw some awful accidents. With nicknames such as the bathtub on wheels or the coffin on wheels, the cars of this era were the most dangerous in F1 history, with very limited safety features aimed at protecting the driver. Often built with as little components as possible to reduce weight, these tiny cars could travel up to 190 miles per hour, but would almost completely disintegrate in even the smallest of accidents, whilst drivers were surrounded by fuel in the cockpit, which could literally ignite at any moment. The driver's helmets barely covered the entire head, and fire protective ovals were still in its infancy. Speed first, safety very much last.
Yeah, at all.
Ferrari fielded their 3-1-2 for the second year running, and was slightly improved for the 1967 season, with Lorenzo Bandini and Chris Amon taking the wheel for what was hoped to be a successful season as they seek to beat Brabham and Lotus. Lorenzo Bandini was a highly experienced driver, making his Formula 1 debut in 1961 and had driven for Ferrari since 1962. He was also a successful sports car driver, winning the 1963 24 Hours of Le Mans, the 1965 Targa Florio, and earlier that year won the 24 Hours of Daytona for the Scuderia. So Bandini was seen as one of the more successful and competent drivers on the grid, and arrived at Monaco, hopeful that Ferrari would go one step further than the previous season and win the championship, boosted by Bandini qualifying second for the Grand Prix on May 7th, 1967. As the race got underway, pole sitter Jack Brabham retired with a blown engine on the first lap, which promoted Bandini into the lead. However, on the next lap, Bandini would slip on an oil patch left behind by Brabham's engine, and eventually Denny Hulme would take the lead. In the second half of the race, Lorenzo's race was going well as he chased Hulme through the streets of Monte Carlo, chasing his first Monaco Grand Prix victory in his career. Lap after lap, Hulme was in Lorenzo's sights, and everyone expected the Ferrari to catch the Brabham and perhaps go on to take a deserved lead.
And the leader still Dennis Hulme, Lorenzo Bandini second, Chris Amon third, and Graham Hill fourth. Now Bandini. And Bandini's crashed.
Good Lord, look at that.
The car, it looks like it's upside down, Phil. Tremendous fire. This is gasoline, remember, they use in these automobiles. Terrible fire, and that is one of the other cars going through. The race is continuing. There's somebody coming out. There are firemen stationed around the course here. Nobody to the wreck as yet. I don't see Bandini, Phil. I don't see him.
He might be either thrown out or he's...
Either that or he's still in the automobile.
The Harbour Chicane, or the Nouvelle Chicane, is now a slow-speed, tight left-right-hander which leads onto the straight before Tayback. But back in 1967, the chicane was more or less just a simple gap in the wall which could be taken nearly flat out if you were brave enough. If you veered slightly to the right, you would crash heavily into the straw bales and brick walls, and if you veered slightly left, you would also crash into a wall with the added danger of being thrown.
Boy, you know how dangerous that is and tight that is? Like, that is so narrow to try to, like, fit your car through. Going at that fast. Oh, dude.
Into the Monaco Harbour, which is exactly what happened to Alberto Ascari in 1955 and Paul Hawkins 10 years later. Lorenzo Bandini's Ferrari clipped the wall on its left-hand side, which sent the car into an erratic spin at high speed. The Ferrari collided with the adjacent straw bales, which also contained a hidden mooring head, resulting in Bandini's car being overturned and continued to slide down the straight upside down. The sparks caused by the accident ignited the fuel, igniting both the car and a large portion of that circuit in a fierce fire, with Bandini still trapped underneath. It took rescuers several minutes before the fire was extinguished, before they were able to turn the scorched Ferrari right side up and pull Bandini out from the wreckage. The fire reignited once again, but Bandini was already out and being transferred to a nearby hospital. All the while, the race continued almost as if nothing was happening. He sustained third-degree burns to 70% of his body, as well as 10 chest fractures. 3 days after the accident, Lorenzo Bandini passed away, aged 31 years old. In response to the accident, straw bales were banned from F1 immediately, as a straw merely acted to make the fire worse than it had to be. These were replaced by an extended guardrail for the following year. In a dark case of foreshadowing, Bandini acted as an advisor for film director John Frankenheimer during the making of the 1966 classic Grand Prix. As they explored potential sites for a crash scene during the Monaco segments, Bandini recommended the harbour chicane, and this location would thus be used as the location for the scene. Who would have known that a year later, this was to be the exact site for Lorenzo's own death.
That's crazy. That is crazy, man. Oh my god, that is crazy. Wolfgang von Trips. It's gonna be the last one right here.
Making his debut at the 1957 Argentine Grand Prix, Wolfgang von Trips was a relatively unknown German driver who entered Formula 1 aged 28. For the next couple of years, he would have pretty good results for Ferrari, securing a third-place finish at Italy and another at the French Grand Prix at Reims the following year. Fast forward to 1961, and Ferrari had a car which could win championships. The Ferrari 156 is one of the most recognisable F1 cars of all time, with its distinguishable shark nose air intakes. Equipped with an impressive 1.4 litre V6 engine which put out 188 horsepower, Richie Ginther, Phil Hill and Von Trips set out to almost completely dominate the season, gaining 4 wins in 6 races by the time the Italian Grand Prix came around. With 2 races left of the season, the championship battle was between Von Trips and Phil Hill, with the German leading the championship by 4 points. After qualifying, Von Trips had the advantage as he took pole position, with Phil Hill only managing 4th. The huge Monza crowd was about to witness an epic battle for the title between 2 fantastic drivers. But on the second lap, joy would turn into a horrifying nightmare as their field raced towards the Parabolica, and the horror that unfolded would resemble that of the infamous Le Mans disaster just 6 years earlier.
Jesus Christ. Bro, the spectators were right there too.
Von Trips was just ahead of the Lotus of Jim Clark, who was keen to get ahead of the Ferrari as the two were driving nose to tail. Suddenly, Von Trips would veer slightly left, making contact with the Lotus, which sent the Ferrari spearing off to the left at high speed and straight towards the fence line. Packed tightly behind a waist-high fence was thousands of people keen to watch a good motor race. Von Trips' Ferrari went up the embankment and went straight into the crowd. The impact sent the car into an airborne spin as the Lotus, which had also gone up the embankment and into the fence, passed underneath. When the Ferrari landed, Von Trips was ejected and thrown across the track and landed onto the tarmac hard before coming to a rest on the side of the track.
Jeez.
Wolfgang Von Trips was killed instantly. 15 spectators were also dead after the Ferrari had hit the ground line. Unless you were in that area, there was no announcement of the tragic event, and the race was not stopped due to fears that the exiting crowd would block ambulance crews trying to get to the circuit. Phil Hill was also not made aware of the severity of the accident, and he eventually went on to win the race and claim the championship with 1 race to go. The crowd celebrated his achievement, and he was seen on the podium, celebrating just like any other, completely unaware of the death of his friend. Ferrari decided not to enter the next race at Watkins Glen for the United States Grand Prix. This accident would go down in history as one of the worst accidents in motor racing history, but thankfully organisers had learned their lesson and worked hard to make changes from 1962 onwards. Whilst the famous Monza banking had nothing to do with the accident, it was decided to ban it from Formula 1 events in an effort to slow the cars down. Furthermore, new safety walls, barriers and better fences were installed in response. Despite some other huge accidents that have taken place in Monza over the years, the scene that unfolded on the 10th of September 1961 has never been repeated in Formula 1. No one should ever attend a motor race and never come home.
For real, honestly. I'm just gonna stop here. We're just gonna stop here. See a 6-year-old, 18, 21, 26. God, man. Guys, we're almost done with this. We have exactly 30 minutes left to go in this. This one was just made me mad or just irritated because these were so avoidable, like what the narrator saying and stuff like that. Like, these crashes were so avoidable, and it was just like, I don't know. I think this one was worse because like I said, it was just avoidable. But man, it was, I'm covering my eyes again. I can't even look at times, man. But appreciate you guys joining. As always, don't forget to like the video and sub as well. Take care. Stay amazing. Stay safe, as always. Peace.